Welcome to the Coach Speak podcast, built for coaches, by coaches, hosted by Jamie Bolton and Dustin Martin. Sponsored by Ray Crowther, providing the nation's best athletic training equipment since 1932. And R4 Football Systems. Accelerate everything by decoding the game.
Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Speak. Dustin Martin here with Jamie Bolton. We got a special guest near and dear to our heart tonight. Jamie's going to get into that in a second. Before we get going, I want to shout out to our premier sponsor, Coach Speak Pro. Guys, you can create a free account and see everything that's on the app. We also have some promo codes right now. $200 off for an individual user and 50% off with your staff.
Yeah, guys, today's episode is a little different and honestly a little more special for Dustin and me. Years ago, when we were coaching together at York Comprehensive High School, today's guest wasn't just sitting in a meeting room with us. He was carrying the football on Friday nights. Stephen Oglesby was the heartbeat of our offense. He wasn't the biggest guy on the field, but he was one of the toughest, smartest, and most competitive players we've ever coached. Since then, he's earned a scholarship, worked his way through the graduate assistant ranks, and today he's coaching wide receivers at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Coach, we're excited to talk ball, but we're even more excited to catch up with someone we've watched grow from player to coach to now colleague. Coach Oglesby, man, welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, I appreciate y'all having me, man. Very, very much overdue. Well,
no
overdue,
doubt.
man.
No doubt.
But, I'm happy to finally be able to get on, man. So, shoot, let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Let's get after it. So, Stephen, when Dustin and I coached you, did you already know that you wanted to coach, or were you just, focusing on playing at that point?
In the back of my head, because I knew I wanted to stay around the game probably as long as possible, coaching was a thought. Because there's many ways to stay around the game. You can pick up equipment, do some version of it, and but coaching, shoot, that's outside of playing it. That's the next hands-on that you can get. So there was always in the back of my head where it was a thought, but shoot, opportunities end up presenting themselves. I know we'll end up getting into it, but it was always a small seat in there. I will say that it was always a small little seat in there. That is probably what I wanted to do.
Man, I remember I got the chance to coach you in JV and varsity. Like we kind of moved up together, man. And I just remember the whole year we were coaching you, that JV year, we were worried that they were going to pull you up. Like we were like, man, we're going to lose Stephen at this level. And, and then I just remember me and Jamie every week, we would go back and look at how the offense went, and Coach Boggs would be in there and a couple other guys, but the games you could make it all through all four quarters, we had the best chance to win. Yeah. It was literally like, I remember there was a game like mid-third quarter, something happened, you cramped or something, and we were like, man, our offensive production went way down. Why is that? And we look, Oglesby got hurt. Like it just, man, I'll never forget. Yep, every time, man. It was a heck of a player.
Great times, man.
That was definitely fun. That probably go back into it, go down our first rabbit hole. I know exactly which one, because that was Ridgeview, and that had a very explosive first half. And
yes, you did.
From what I remember, because I do remember the surface being wet, it had rained most of that day, and then we got to Columbia, South Carolina, and around 4:00 when we pulled up, the sun popped.
Yes.
And it got humid real fast, and on top of a humid, explosive first half. Shoot, look, hey, it got on me, but, was able to get back in there. But, that kind of goes into it. I look back at it.
Man, for guys that don't know, like Stephen, and I know they might not be watching. It's hard to tell on camera anyway. In high school, just tell us what your height and weight was, man.
High school, 5'7", and then by the time we got past fall camp and really into the season, I was probably fluctuating between 155 and 160.
And dude was an absolute ball of fire, man. I remember that Ridgeview game because me and Dustin were on the sideline, and it was hot, man. It was like humid, middle of the state, and we're sitting on the bleachers watching Ridgeview warm up. And by the way, their warm up was like, let's go out there and throw the ball around with all the linemen. And I'm thinking, all right, boys, we're about to line up with Stephen Oglesby.
Yeah, man.
And guess what we ran at him? Power. We ran power right at him.
All right, hang on.
You got the clip? Is this
not of that game? If you ask me who Stephen Oglesby was as a player, this is the clip that I always think. Stephen probably knows.
Oh, dude, this is outside zone.
Pro.
Outside.
So
Week 3.
If you're listening, you need to look at the phone. But man, I'll never forget this play. I will watch it from the end zone.
12
Pro
personnel.
strong.
Yep. Shift to pro week.
Just the vision, man.
Cut back outside zone all the way to A gap. Insane.
Now,
Yeah.
End zone
also,
clips even better.
Yeah. This was awesome, man.
This is on my clinic tape. Yeah.
But look, here's the thing. It's really a testament to you guys. And, you guys, Coach Boggs, because, like y'all said, I was pretty, I was just calling spade a spade. A pretty smart football player. Kind of had an idea of what was going on.
You did.
We were in outside zone. I kind of knew it was 2 to 3. You know what I mean? It might have a chance to either bow. You know what I mean? It's going to bow, and I'm really going to stretch this out wide, or, you feel it over the top. And I just had a good feel of, getting back underneath it.
Dustin, show the one against Ridgeview. We run power to the left with a slant RP on the backside, and Stephen goes hash number sideline, uses his offhand for probably a 45-yard run. That's the one too. Like,
is
what
it Y3? Oh, right here.
Yeah.
This is the one.
It's against Ridgeview. This is it. Yep. So, twins strong, shift to twins weak.
Yeah.
And then now
this was a good run.
Oh, then because and it's A gap power. You actually hit this one back in A gap. If you look at the end zone view, yes, because you press that A gap. Like, man, that's just such great spacing too. It's just clinic tape, man. This is like one of the first power clips I show.
That's all you, buddy.
Hey, I do want you to show this one, man. I don't know if you have this one with Rock Hill. The very first time we ran power from scrimmage in 2017.
Got ran down.
Our plays, and you got ran down by Nari Gaither.
Got ran down.
I don't know. I don't think I have that
your
one.
Senior year.
I don't think I have that one.
Nah,
but
it's good though. Man, it's some good times.
Great trip down memory lane there, Stephen. Man, if I've never seen you coach, man, but if you're half of a coach as you were a player, man, you're going to be just fine in this career. And I mean, heck, dude, you're big time now. I mean, you're a college dude. And me and Jamie need to come learn from you now.
No doubt. That's why we got you on, man. That's why we got you on. So, is there anything? This is always something I always wonder with like former players that become coaches, which actually haven't been many. We haven't had many former players. But what is there anything that that you remember at York, like anything that we did or said that you maybe still use? Like, are there any? Because obviously we didn't make it up, but like, is there anything that you still kind of use with your guys that maybe you learned in high school?
Yeah, I mean, I like at least running back play. I haven't coached running backs in a minute, but at least just track wise, hash number sideline, still using that A, B to C hash number sideline, in the open field, really, I will say that the biggest thing that, and I kind of led to this before, you guys did a good job of, if it fell on deaf ears, it fell on deaf ears. But for the ones that were listening, you guys did a good job of teaching football. You know what I mean? And understanding, we weren't just out there running plays, because sometimes that does, you can watch a lot of football. And, the more football you watch, you try and get a rhythm and see what they're trying to do. You can kind of tell, all right, well, they don't quite know, but, you go back and, it wasn't a lot of times that we ran plays into bad looks. I just don't remember that. You know what I mean? Just from what I remember, it wasn't a lot of times where, and, it might have been just me, but it wasn't a lot of times where, shoot, that dude's free. And I got to make him miss in the backfield. You know what I mean? It was, the extra hat, that the defense is who it was supposed to be. You know what I mean? It was 5 yards downfield where it might have been, but y'all did a good job of just teaching, like Coach Boggs, like we talk about inside zone some weeks, Coach Boggs did a good job of understanding, look, if you got an A-gap defender to that side, shoot, it's either A, what I'm saying? You think it might cut back, or, you might bang that thing front side, or, you end up getting it free, you understand, shoot, it might end up hitting in that A-gap, so, just stay tight to it. But, just small little nuggets like that, he was never afraid to, and you guys were never afraid to just teach it. You guys said it, it's, what I'm saying?
Stephen, I'll be honest, that's probably, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for Jamie. That's a huge compliment to hear that from you as a coach now. Because, man, I'll be honest, that was, dude, we're coming up on 10 years.
8 years ago.
And it's like, man, I don't
9 years ago. Yeah.
Reflecting back every single year, I feel like last year I was an idiot. Like last year I was an idiot. So it's like 10 years ago I was 10 times an idiot, so but just to at least, like you said, to you it felt like we were teaching conceptual football. We were teaching y'all the game. And that's all I can ask for, man. Like I was at Cannon, we had a lineman who decided to go somewhere else. I talked to the dad about a couple months later, and he said, man, he went in there first meeting, he was answering all these questions, and they were like, man, how do you know this? And he was like, well, we did football 101. We went through this stuff, and that's what I want. I hope I don't ever want any past player to watch the game like a fan. I want them to always, they're not just running it up the middle. They understand what's going on. But no, man, that's
sometimes
cool to hear
it is good
that.
just to hand it to Steven. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Hand it to Steven.
Hey, man, we need to ice the game here. We'll just run quick pitch to Steven. Okay.
Man, that was wild.
Practice that?
Yeah, we practiced it a few times, but I'll never forget this. I'm on the headset at the Ridgeview game. We're winning 24-23, the same game you had a great first half. And we're on the headset, and I'm like, all right, we got the ball back, and we needed to get a first down to win the game. And it was just a slugfest, man. And I was like, let's go quick pitch. And then we did it, and I was like, Dustin, this is either going to be a touchdown. It's going to be a first down for us or a touchdown for them. Like, so I think we ended up hitting it, and it was a good play. That's when our quarterback got hurt. That's when Tanner got hurt that game.
He did. Because
this it right here. Yep. Ice the game, unbalanced. Quick pitch.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That was a big win for us that year because we were 0-3
to start, and then
then we beat Fort Mill. Then Ridgeview ranked like top 5 in the state.
Yeah,
crazy, man. Unreal season. Well, look, man, let's get into wide receiver play. So, you did running backs. You played running back. You were a good receiver out of the backfield as a player. I remember that. And but what's been the biggest adjustment, in coaching receivers at the collegiate level?
Biggest thing is, the attention to detail. Not that it's across all levels, but really in our offense, the attention to detail is really, really big in terms of being able to understand our splits. Got to understand our splits because got to understand what the route we got to run. And obviously, got to understand our leverage. You know what I mean? We don't have leverage, we got to go gain it. If we got leverage, we got to keep it. You know what I mean? And that's something where, playing, because I didn't play the position, I didn't, naturally just know that. But as a coach, obviously, you understand leverage, it makes sense. You know what I mean? And it kind of understanding, some kids when they want to spray and when they're spraying too much, you can't spray like that because you're trying to stay, we got inside leverage. Hey man, don't spray outside his leverage and lose your leverage. You know what I mean? Just small little stuff like that. It's, picking up on, because I didn't play the position, but, picking up on, it makes sense though. And as you keep correcting the kids and they end up seeing it, same thing, because you can keep your leverage, you spray right at them. They feel the vertical presence, they'll feel that, and, they'll still widen a little bit. And, when you get on their toes, you good, but really understanding, the alignments are big, that's key because, the alignments, that's going to dictate, if they're playing, especially off divider rules and everything, so that's going to dictate what leverage you get, so being able to play with that and understand that, creating leverage and, creating space on the perimeter, trying to, teach some of the kids how to get that, because it's like, teaching the kids coverages as a whole, it's cool. It's good. Like, you know what I mean? Like if they can get on the board and draw it, it's good. And I like to be able to talk coverages with the kids. But, when you get out there, trying to give them the best indicators as possible too, trying to teach them like that, indicators so they can try and figure out what they're seeing. Like the one that's, depending on how they play it, getting cloud coverage, you see the corner level off and you see the safety get off the hash, base indicators. Now, certain weeks, they might play it a little different. It might be more, they're in the more palms world. So, he's going to lift a little bit. And as soon as he two go out, he'll end up leveling off. But, we still got to treat that as cloud. If we got like an MOR, we got to treat that as cloud. We still got an outside release. You know what I mean? If we're running it like that, but that's really been the most exciting thing. It's a different position because I didn't play it, but being able to adjust has been something I've been doing since I've been started coaching. Because my first year, I was with the running backs because it's just where they needed me and it was easy. I plugged in there. And then my second year, it was really at the collegiate level. My second year, it was really a unique opportunity because I gained, the trust and respect of the head coach and the offensive coordinator, where I was finishing classes that year. Didn't have my undergraduate yet. Was finishing classes that year at South Carolina State. But on the field and in the meeting room, I coached the tight ends.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, it was like.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was, it was a unique opportunity. I came together a lot with the offensive line coach. We worked tackle tight end combinations a lot. And, whenever we were doing our 7-man pro stuff, went with him and we did all that together. So I got all the techniques and stuff from him, but for all intents and purposes, that was who I was with. So I learned the tight end position and was, coaching that year. And then my third year, that was quarterbacks, which was completely new.
Yeah. There's a lot to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of, tight ends, it was kind of like a warm up into it to get into that point. Cause running back, I understood the run game for the most part, and then getting the tight ends, I had expanded to this, to the pass game, just being able to understand and get what's going there. Then quarterbacks was, run game, pass game. And now we're picking up on these protections and you got to understand that to then now being fully, on the pass game side of it, so
I remember
really,
Stephen,
go ahead.
it's funny. It's just funny your story on how that kind of started for you and how that kind of went out. I remember, the first year at York, we coached the 9th and the JV together, then just the JV. And then we got to my first year of a varsity, third year ever. I remember Jamie had just got the OC spot and we met and he said, I know you're really good at OL, but what do you want to do? I said, well, man, obviously I want to be an OC one day. And he was like, well, what do you think about H-back? That way you can be flexible. You can tight ends, H-backs, you can work pass game and run game. And that was great. It's a great way. And anybody listening to this, if you're strictly an OL guy or strictly a receiver guy, that's probably one of the best positions you can try to go coach because you have to learn the intricacies of both. There's no just run game or pass game. You got to know both. And it's much easier than, like you said, quarterback. So it's definitely
I think, too, just learning the game from the inside out is very valuable. Like you learned it as a running back, as a player, so you're heavily involved in the run game. Then as a coach, the same thing, run game with the running back, and then you got tight end stuff, and now you're doing the receivers. And I think, the most fun part, like you said, the word fun. Well, I was a receiver coach long before I was ever a quarterback coach or an OC. But I love teaching receiver play because there's so many nuance and variables that go into that craft. And there is an art form because the toolbox, one, it just looks awesome when a receiver can, win on press release or stem an inside leverage defender, even though he's got an outside breaking route. Like those things are awesome. And so kind of dig into their toolbox a little bit. How do you teach those inside receivers, especially to I guess gain that leverage or that separation? Just talk to us briefly about kind of your process with that. I want to dig deeper into that.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is, we know they're not going to get pressed, but we cross train though. So biggest thing is we cross train. So, when we're working, releases, it goes from, are we pressed or is it a cloud release or it's a second level release and all the guys get it, because we go 12 personnel. If you're the best receiver and you an outside guy, you got to hop in the slot. We go, a twin set, so you need it, but we cross train them. The first thought is, what's our route? You know what I'm saying? What's our route? Where do we have to win? And you find the nickel, or you find that safety that spun down over you. You again try and find the leverage and do that. Win like that. But it really starts with that, second level release. We're trying to threaten you off the ball with vertical presence. That's the most important thing. When we try and tell them, that's your biggest threat because any kid, and it's kind of different in the slot, but you can kind of control it. Especially if you got a safety over the top of you, man. You flying off that ball, man. He gonna back up a little bit.
Got to, yeah.
Unless he's gonna be flat-footed. If they're gonna play it flat-footed, then we'll do something else off of that. We'll have something for that. But shoot, if he playing quarters, you know what I'm saying? He gonna play off a cliff, but he feeling you coming off the ball, and we can get a clean second level release. Shoot, you're gonna get in his face fast, and it's gonna be one or two things. Either gonna get on him fast and have the chance to, get into what we need to do and run by him, or you're gonna have all the space you need underneath, to be able to win and get out your break, to be able to win like that. But really we try to, second level release is huge. Try and get there clean. Because if they're coached, because y'all know McKeever?
I know who you're talking about.
So
I know
so
who you're talking about.
he was at York. It was after COVID. He was at York for like 2 years after COVID, but I know him really, really well. But he'll be out there just yelling, especially when he gets into the single high stuff, reroute. And he's reroute. So, when them teams, they're heavy reroute, you studying that they reroute, hey, man, they're going to get hands on you.
Yep.
But you know what I'm saying? It's got to be as minimal of a surface as possible. You can't give them your back. You can't give them your chest. Reduce your surface as best as possible. They're going to get hands on you. But, if we're fast and we're strong through there and we give him enough, he going to get hands on, but it's not going to knock us 2 yards outside the hash. And now
Exactly.
the timing's off, So,
Well, I
really,
think,
really big there. What's good?
but it's like what you're kind of saying, that second level release, you want to be clean at what I call to our kids delayed collision. So it's like, I try to teach things in threes. It don't always work that way, but it's like, all right, guys, there's either going to be no one with a threat of collision, which means there's probably someone 7 yards or further off. You have a free release wherever you want to go, however you want to go there. You have press collision, so they're in man, they're trying to jam you, whatever. Then there's going to be a defender at some point between 5 and probably 9 yards where he's going to try to reroute you. And I think when you keep talking about that second level collision, like that's probably the one y'all see the most, especially interior, and like at high school, we grade that. What kind of reroute players are they?
Correct.
Well, they're going to die on it. Like you said, Coach McKeever, I don't know him, but I know you're talking about. It's like he sounds like he's a die on that hill. They are going to reroute. And I think great offenses, great coaches are going to find out how to use that against them. Because if they are, I'm going to reroute no matter what, now you start having in-breaking stuff from the outside guy. Because if he commits to so much. But it's so cool to hear how you teach it, though. That's
and leverage is such a big key. It really any of the receiver positions, and I guess through my journey of doing it, it was the same thing. Like we always wanted to try to win on route side space or where the route is going to break. But if we couldn't, there was two things we could do. We could win with speed. So let's say it's a dig, right? I want to win inside, but if I can't win inside because he's super hard leverage, let's say it's one of those collision defenders where he's going to get hands on. If I can win, I'm probably going to have to win outside because if I go inside, he's going to squeeze me down. But if I win outside, then where is he? Is he in phase or am I kind of trying to stack him? So if I can stack him, I'm going to win with speed. But if I can't win with speed, I'm going to beat my drums and do a nice shove by. And I think on those in-breaking routes where you want outside, that's something you could do. But if you have to win outside and you're already outside, then you use your big boy body lean, and we do the chicken wing thing and all that. So I just love those things, and I'm glad you're coaching at the highest level, man.
Yeah, it's very interesting you say that because it's kind of a very similar process, and it almost kind of plays into like an evaluation piece. When we're watching kids, it's like how do they create separation?
Yes.
Getting to the same thing, how they create separation. Create separation through speed. They've run it past everybody, and I guess, that's a fun one to look at because it's also like, all right, you got to kind of almost look at who they playing too.
Yes.
Are the dudes that they playing, can they run too, but they just fast? You know what I mean? Or is it kind of easy out there, and, they just running by everybody? Hats off to you because you're winning with what you're good at, but, separation with speed, separation through contact, the shove by. Shove by, or you're saying you gotta lean on them and separate, with a small little chicken wing in there. That's on some interior breaking routes. You see that a lot from like tight ends and stuff too. But if you running if you get press coverage, you trying to run a glance. That's a separation through contact thing. You can't outside release on that. You can't get between the ball. Saying you can't put the defender between the ball and and yourself. Or it's like separation through the top end of your route. Because sometimes you get up and you break them off. You might not need to throw them by. The thought is I'm gonna break them off and throw them by, but you breaking them off, you got his hips to open, because your route that nice and you push them vertical. You don't need to. Now you just win. And now your top end got your route. And it's a combination of those. If you're not fast, it's probably gonna be one of those two things. My top end's got to be nice,
right?
Or I got to throw them by. Got to be physical at the top.
And what's crazy too is, different offenses run on different kind of, I guess, timelines. Are y'all really, really based on like a hard timeline where your guys have to get open? Like for us, we are certainly that way. So when we teach, what we call, stemming or straight line pad level, we teach steps for timing purposes. So that can be kind of a hindrance to a lot of the toolbox for a lot of receivers. So do y'all have something similar that you guys have to kind of problem solve with that?
Not like that. Not like that. Because I played for you, I know exactly what you're talking about and matching up like that, but not like that. We play off of route depths. Now, we do have steps for some of those routes, you know what I mean? For timing purposes of like outcuts and stuff like that, we'll throw it like that. But for the most part, we'll just get yardage because, the biggest thing is my stride is going to be different from like Julio Jones' stride. That's an extreme, you know what I mean? But like my stride is going to be different from his. So, on top of him being faster, he going to get there faster and he going to be deeper on X amount of steps.
Right.
And it kind of, trying to throw off, how we trying to teach the top end of it, just not to confuse them, and not to confuse them when it gets to a collision. Because the last thing you want is collision, and now what I'm saying, or you got to use a release, and then now I got to start my steps back over, or I wasn't counting. But sometimes at that point we turn that into yardage anyway. But for the most part, we have a few things that are runoff steps, but for the most part, it's yardage. It's yardage, and then at that point, shoot, you got to go. We teach it conceptually, like shoot, you front side, your eyes are starting here, so you got to go. You don't got all day.
Exactly.
Even though it might be the same, it might be the same route, it might be the same dig, but shoot, you on the front side for this dig.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You on the front side of this dig, like when we ran. If y'all been like Texas running a through route with you dig right behind it, that versus, we running like a 3-level flood with a dig on the backside, or, if it get cloudy or you progress off and you get backside.
So kind of knowing where you are in the progression, it changes a lot, especially with those routes. It's same for us, like especially with the routes that are what we call like read routes, where routes are going to break open like kind of in that second or third, progression piece. Yeah, definitely a distance thing, because you start trying to, match up totally with timing with that. Like you said,
correct.
It's got to be a 10 or 12-yard dig or a 12-yard comeback or 15-yard comeback for sure. But correct. That's interesting to hear. And so how does y'all's timeline work then? Does the quarterback, are y'all pure progression, or are y'all kind of more like coverage based? How do y'all kind of tell the quarterback how to go through their stuff?
It's a mix of, some quick game elements, some drop back elements. Obviously got some crossers in there to handle some different things. Got some shot plays to push it down the field that, you end up marrying with your run game and some stuff like that. But, it's a nice mix. It's a nice mix of, it can seem like a lot if we wrote everything down, everything down in terms of like what we could do. It'd be overwhelming. You couldn't get that done in a week. But, we do a really nice job of narrowing it down, what's best that week, how's the best way to get to it. That way, when we get into it, and at that point, conceptually, at least for the quarterback, because that's the biggest thing, just being able to get yourself through it. Most of that stuff rules up the same way.
Yeah.
Based on whatever bucket we put it in, it pretty much rules up the same way. So he's able to find his way through it.
Sure. And I think,
go ahead.
I can't speak for your level, Stephen, because I'm sure y'all get a lot of different looks. High school wise, we may get 3 looks to a formation. I feel like is a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like just a base 2x2 formation, like teaching the twins receivers like to the field. What are we anticipating? Like here's the nickel's base alignment. If the nickel is doing anything like this, understand they're probably bringing the nickel and they're going to spin to you. Or like you said, there's indicators. And I think at any level, a receiver has to understand what is his indicators based on his spot on the field. Am I a field receiver? Am I a boundary receiver? But then to your point, quarterback, they have to be aware of all that. And how does it work together, both sides? You know what I mean? And I think that's where, being able to not run mirrored concepts all the time, not being able to do these things, because like, if you're a cover offense, hey, if it's 2 here, we're going to take this. If it's 3 here, we're going to take this. Like, in this day and age, go ahead. You might think it's 2 pre-snap and it'd be something completely different. It's just like, but it's cool to hear, because there are some colleges that do that, and like to each its own. But it's like it's great to hear that y'all have a lot of different things in the arsenal.
And that's the main reason why there's some progression based stuff in there in terms of how we get it done, because of that reason right there. Like, had the opportunity to play, I call it a blessing, but you in there, it's not really had an opportunity to play against Kirby Smart's defense, you know what I mean, last year, and the opportunity that I'm grateful for is schematically, on top of it having good players, man, it's pretty solid. They play what they play and they play it well. You know what I mean? It's not a whole bunch of stuff all over the place. Problem is, all that junk looked the same. Before you snap that ball, all that junk looked the same. So
yeah, that's hard. Yeah,
it's tough, because like quarterback, you watching, any team that week where all their stuff looks the same for the most part. Shoot, even like their exotic looks, it's you trying to find an indicator and you can't. It's a post snap indicator, but then then you get into the simulated pressures world, which they do. So then now they sending one off the edge and dropping somebody else. You know what I mean?
Man, I saw them, Stephen. I saw them. It was a trips formation. They ran 6 up, walked both backers up in the A gap. to dictate your 6-man check, and then they
Mhm.
brought corner.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
dude, it is
that's the
wild.
one I saw that a few weeks ago. They were playing Texas, and it was dirty. It was dirty.
They sacked what's his name? Manning,
it was
Arch. Yeah.
yeah, because
Yep. That was it. Yep.
it was a corner blitz, but they found the man side and blitzed the back and occupied the guard and tackle to the man side. So, everybody on the man side, what I'm saying, they done. They got
And
it.
Arch was staring at the trip side the whole time.
Staring at
Couldn't
the
see
trip
it.
side the whole time. And the corner came
That's genius, man. Like that's
was tough.
some smart stuff.
It's a great process of understanding like the protection checks, and then
Yep.
building from the protection check.
That's what it
Now
is.
we can build in the overload,
Correct.
or we know they're going to go on the man side, so let's bring it to the man side because they're covering 3 over there. But yeah, it's
Right.
that's but having it
Yeah.
packaged is the brilliance. It's like,
There
how
you
can
go.
we package it in a way that
Correct.
we can all look the same, and we can kind of do a lot of different things out of it. That way, like you said, there's no indicator to
Correct.
assume that they're going to bring a corner cat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well,
So,
it's and I think good coaches on both sides do it. So I listened to a clinic by Sarkeesian one time, and
Yeah.
just 2x2 H back. He
Yep.
just runs inside zone strong, and he says
Yep.
we have a pre-snap side and a post-snap side. If
Yeah.
they're not 3/2 to the twins to the field, fix the levers, throw the ball out there. If they are
Yeah.
3/2, great. What does the box look like? Oh, they're 2 cap. There's 6 in the box. We're running it, and we have the post-snap adjustment if the corner or safety comes in the picture. It's like that's a process. It's going to work against anything they do. We at least have an answer to your point, and it's like the top levels, the top coaches, the top programs, they understand football, and that's why they're so good at it.
Well, they have to problem solve so much stuff. It's like at those higher levels, you have to have stuff like that because there's so many defense coordinators that are going to do those things. And Steve, not to over talk with Steven, but like, are y'all constantly kind of playing that game week in and week out, like at that level that you're in?
So like the certain conferences, you can kind of almost like defensively and offensively, you can kind of almost be like, this conference, typically people they playing like this. You know what I mean? They playing like this. In the American, ROC, Coach Fitz, it's a junk league. So defensively, you're gonna see 3 down with a 3 high safety structure. Some weeks you might see a 4 down look. By the grace of God, you might see a team that plays, a 4 down front. Or, you're gonna see teams that, they jump in and out of it. They jump in and out of it. And they doing this, they doing that, you know what I mean? And, or you got like teams that just hop in the Okie front, and you know what I'm saying? And they play it really well. And, that's tough, because you got to have answers for that. You got to be able to figure out your run game like that. But, it's all over the place. Because, next thing you know, it's a 3 high look. Next thing you know, shoot, everybody's mugged up. It's all over the place.
That's like high school. That's like high school, man. And then you get the teams that, man, what coverage is this? Oh, it's probably a blown coverage. It's like, for us, it's kind of like that. It's like every week could be different.
Yeah, because they, and credit to them, they do a really good job, of mixing that in and just keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
But it is, you breaking down, you looking at the coverages. All right, what's this? Because ideally, you looking at it, you trying to decide what's the calmest formations I can get into, without motioning, without doing stuff. What's the calmest? So if I got to get to something, I can get to something.
Yes,
man, that junk is all right. Coverage wise, what's the coverages? It's 40% this, 20% this, 20%. All right. Is there anything where, it might be like 60s, you know what I mean? Where the percentage might be 60 something, so that you can at least think it, but nah, nothing's cracking 40.
Nothing.
That thing might be 30, 30, 30 all the way through. Might be, 30% this and 20% everything else, which is even worse because they playing everything. They feel like, but
what size corners are you seeing mostly? Are you seeing 6 foot plus corners these days, or are they still a little shorter? What are you seeing the most?
Obviously it just depends on who we're seeing that week. But from the better team, I'll say this: from the better corners I broke down last year, better corners that I broke down last year were in the 5'11" range, but we're athletic, super athletic. Because, this is the easy, obvious, because it's the same thing like working with receivers. If they're pushing, and, DBs is just a little bit shorter, but, if they're pushing DB-wise, they're pushing 6'2", and they got hips and can run a little bit, they're not coming to the American Conference. If they're in the American Conference, something happened. You know what I mean? It's for them to be messing with us, but, they playing SEC, Big Ten, those type of deals. So, to still stay athletic, they end up sacrificing a few inches here or there, but, they're still Vert's probably pushing 40. So, the jump ball's still not crazy, but, you can't run past them. Some of them you might not be able to run past them. And some of them, shoot, they feet nice. So, the top end of your route, shoot, they able to break when you break and, get back in phase real fast. So, that's more or less the better ones that we saw that I felt like, this week is going to be a little bit tougher on the outside. Yeah, they're probably in that 5'11", 6'1" range, could run, had nice hips. The times where I thought we might be a little bit better is when they were bigger. Because I thought, what I'm saying, just, on paper, you go watch them, but, the bigger they were, I was thinking, okay, well, if they're in our conference and they're a little bit bigger, okay, all right, there's something, just naturally. There's something,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? There's something. They're fast and they can't get out their brakes. Or they can get out their brakes, but they just can't run well. Or they're stiff in the hips. It's something, but,
Yeah, and at your level too, because you're not SEC, Big Ten, are you also recruiting that way too? So like, you're probably not going to get the 6'4" and 4'2" guy, but like, would you rather have a big guy or would you rather have a small guy, or do you like to have a mix, or you just say, look, we're the best players, that's who we're going to recruit, regardless of maybe metrics?
I'd rather go with the latter first. Get the best ones in there first.
Yep.
Get the best first. If they've got stuff in state that's a little bit bigger than us, shoot, we're still gonna try. Because you don't know how the process is gonna work out, where they are on somebody else's board. Even though they've got a Power 5 offer, it might be, they're the bottom tier of what the guy got, but they're gonna offer them. So if they get in the game late, they can mess with them. But you never know. You still hit them up, you mess with them. So if the best, go for the best. Obviously trying to have the best talent. And then you kind of plug and place from there. If you kind of, know like you got a smaller room. This year you just got to live with it. But next year, high school wise, all right, let's try and take some bigger guys. What I mean? Try and replace, try and keep it even mix. Because last thing you want to go out there is, see, you took all the best players, and yeah, they're good players, but see, everybody out there 5'9". You can get it done. But like, it's
right.
It's
I'm sure you want the ability to have as good a matchup as you can week to week, and maybe that's a bigger guy on a small DB, and if you might not have that in that room that year. So yeah, that makes sense to keep a good mix.
Oh yeah. Look, for me, if you can run and jump, sure, we can do something.
No doubt.
We can do something. That's really where now, obviously some heights, get a little extreme, but for the most part, looking out there, if you can run and jump, is really what I'm looking for. We'll match up the height and weight and measurables and stuff later, but that'll get me going first.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, I think we're ready to get into rapid fire here. If you guys are ready.
Come on, let's do it.
All right, man. So we'll start it off. So, Coach, what surprised you about like coaching college football? And this could be back in your GA days too. But what surprised you most about the profession?
I say, really, and it doesn't surprise me because I knew we had to meet and there was meetings and stuff going on. But really, the amount of collection of thoughts all coming together is really something that at first, and still to this day, because people have different experiences on how they handled a certain problem. Certain people, I'm not running it like that, because I remember in 2008, and it ended up being an all-world player that they named. In 2008, somebody did this, so I'm not trying to do that. But it's like, yeah, it's still a good play, and it might look all right. But I understand where you're coming from. But just the different experiences that they've had, the problem solving that people have had, because people run the play, you come across a problem, that you're coming across in game planning. Well, shoot, I haven't come across it, but somebody else has. And they're able to fix it. And they have an understanding. Now, is that the best fix for that week, personnel-wise, scheme-wise? Maybe. Is it? Yeah. Yes. Then, yeah, we good with it. If not, then, it's not. But really, it's really the collection of thoughts that all get in one room. Why you're trying to figure stuff out, why you planning on stuff. That kind of was like, still to this day, it'll kind of amaze me when we get together and do some stuff, because it's like, it makes sense. Once they say it and they talk through it, it makes sense.
Gotcha.
And it's almost like, you knew that. And like, here's the one too that kind of gets me still to this day. When I kind of knew something, didn't know how to articulate it, and we're still getting to the same thing.
That makes sense.
So it's like I see it with my eyes. I can see it. I see what you're talking about, and I understand where we're trying to get to, but I didn't have a way of articulating it. And I'm still learning how to, still being young and still learning how to articulate some things all the way through.
Is that because you're a young coach and you feel like all the other coaches in the room have their own language about how to speak about like scheme, and then like everybody's trying to figure out like with different languages like what the problem is, or maybe that's probably one of the hardest things is actually figuring out what the problem is, and then having the same language to try to maybe figure out that solution.
Correct. I'll say this, because it's year 2, we all speak especially in the pass game, working with the guys who put together the pass game stuff, we all speak the same language for the, very generally, but like, our OC and our wide receivers coach, pass game coordinator, they were at LSU together, but only for 1 year. And they're both analysts. And so it wasn't theirs, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't their offense per se, but the schemes and all that was, but maybe technically how they expressed like what the defense was doing wasn't the same. And then I was coming from somewhere else, and then our quarterback was coming from somewhere else. So, all the thoughts coming together. Oh, I know this is that. Oh, I know this is that. Well, we got, it's all getting together now. You know what I mean?
Right. It takes time.
Working with each other.
It takes time.
But like, it was a lot of, oh, okay, that's just this. The first year. Oh, okay, that's just it. I see it. You know what I'm saying? I know what that is. I figured it out. But, just trying to sit there and talk without drawing it or without having film there, we're just talking. No time. Not year one. Not year one. You know what I mean? On certain things, just like
no sign language.
And it still gets to the point like I'll be talking about something and like Coach Turner, he's the receivers coach, pass game corner. Coach Turner will be like, hey man, just draw it. He'll just throw me to the other end. And then as soon as I draw it, okay, all right, yeah, I see it. But that happens a ton, not as much this year, but year 1 when we're trying to, because majority of the staff, our head coach came from Ohio University. And half the offensive staff came from Ohio University. So, they got their language of trying to figure it out. So really it's, we trying to figure it out. Now, this year, we can figure it out. Because we know
it always seems like it's the opponent scout where the hiccups at. So it's like, for example, if we said, hey, the snag concept, the only other thing you're going to hear someone say, do you mean like corner? Why corner? Like that's the two that I know for snag. Snag is your traditional people. Y corner is your air raid people. Yeah. There's 2 things, but it's like when you're talking about a 0, a 4-eye, and a 4-eye, there's 17 different things you can call that. When you're talking about palms or 2 read, like so many people, oh man, we call that read trap coverage. Right. Oh, okay. Like,
that's cool.
You mean, Jamie used to call it key 2 back in the old York days with the Baggies. It's like I always feel like the opponent scout. So for example, we've all worked with, hey man, like spread 89, dude. Scouting offenses.
Hold on,
hey
man,
coach, we call that spread. That's
man, we had the Palm Pilots, man. We would get in there and just chart all the film. And I'm thinking, hold on, man. Out of all the language, I love that y'all use one language, but dude, y'all use like hieroglyphics and dang, like Sanskrit. We call that
robust
Sanskrit.
he said, Dustin, that one's called robust 456.
Oh my God! I was like, cannot visualize that, Coach. I'm sorry.
No, man, that's funny because I definitely remember seeing that stuff in like the game breakdowns, and it'd be like spread 88 or something like that, and like I could never, I see the formation, and it's like all right, whatever, but like at the same time, it's like man, I had no way of trying to figure out without without being taught like what that stuff.
So me and Coach Carroll coached together at Kings Mountain for 2 years, and he was DC and I was the OC, and he would always be like, Jamie, we got to marry up what you call the formations, man. And like I would still see like spread 89 and like it would be like I don't know, man. I just it's just crazy, but I think just have, like you said, Coach, just having a common language, and sometimes if it's not intentionally done, it'll take a little bit longer. Versus if you intentionally teach a language, and I'm sure in the college game, there's so much turnover, man. It's like it would probably take forever to teach everybody one language instead of it kind of naturally come together. But
because that's the big thing between me and the quarterbacks analyst, man. Like because we tag in most of the coverages. For the most part, if it's any gray area, we'll put a star, we'll put a money sign in there, and create a cut up. Because we're working a week ahead, obviously. So we'll create a cut up. And then when we get to, the hotel on Friday, as we work kind of through the week and we get to the hotel on Friday, anything we've seen, man, we try and pull those, try and get them at least we see it the same way, we could tag it the same way.
Sure.
Because
Good,
at least whatever
Right.
it is, like, even if it's completely dead wrong,
Yeah.
if we're calling it the same thing, at least in the breakdown, it's the same thing, and we can at least have the same plan to attack it. You know what I mean? As with our, we can call
Right.
we could be calling it wrong, completely wrong. We could be, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at least we're saying it's the same thing. We're labeling it the same way all the way across.
Exactly.
But
Yeah,
definitely
some
that. 'Cause, like,
consistency.
it's funny as that because, like, I was looking at because, like, all right, let's people, the bear versus double eagle.
Yeah.
People, some people have a difference in there. Some people call it the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
what do you want to call it? Like, that's an easy one that I know off the top of my head where
Yeah.
some people, they will call it'll be the same thing. A nose with 2-3 techniques. It doesn't matter who's covered on the outside. It just might be a base 5 down. One person be bear, one person be double eagle. Just wherever they
Wherever.
they got, whatever they learned and what they
And
know.
it's like, all right, coach, what do you call when they go 3 technique on this side but 4 eye on the other side? Oh, we call that bear eagle. Like, easy, dude. Like,
right.
There's a history behind that. I think the Eagles base out of an odd front, the Bears base out of a 4-man front. So just letting everybody know out there, and I'll probably get blasted on the comments, but yeah, that's so double eagle's more of an odd front.
Steven, how long you been coaching now? What year is this for you coming up?
This will be 7.
All right, so you're going on year 7 of coaching. You've coached at the high school and college level. What would year 7 Steven tell year 1 Steven about coaching? What does he need to know?
Keep studying, keep asking questions. This will be the biggest thing. Just keep studying, keep asking questions. Keep watching film, obviously. Not that I didn't, because obviously the work ethic and stuff that I did to get here, but shoot, watch some more. Just watch some more, keep studying, asking questions, understand the other side of the ball and how they, work together, the secondary and how the back end work together, the secondary and the box work together, understanding more defense. If I knew a little bit more at the, early on, it's almost like, I remember we had this problem when we was playing here. If I would, it's always, I wish I would have known that then, type of situation, but, keep studying, asking questions. And, because there's always more to learn. It's always more to learn. Somebody does something a little bit different, it's one little thing, because a lot of problems come when, and this is not just with football, just with anything, you got you talking about something that and, you got a general sense of arrogance to yourself where I know that, you know what I mean? But they might say it a certain way where the kids understand what he said better than what I say. Or anybody that I'm talking to might understand it better than how I'm saying it. You know what I mean? It's always going to be one thing that you can take away from somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's funny you said that. Me and Caleb, we did football 1-on-1 together. He did all the offense. I did all the defense. And I would always sit in on all of his. He'd sit in on all of mine. And afterwards, we would talk for about 5 minutes. And he or I would be like, man, I really like the way you explained this part. I never thought about teaching it this way. Like, we're, like you said, we're saying the same message, but the delivery and the way it's taught is a little bit different. Right. And I think that's a good point. Jamie, you're going on year like 37 of coaching. What would you tell year 1 Jamie?
Ah, man. Probably, I think a lot of it's probably listen more and talk less. Like if I I think as a young coach, especially, for me, being a coach's son, being around the game, being on the sidelines my entire life, you have this, I kind of know probably a lot less than what I think I do. Right. But in your mind, you're like, oh, I know everything. So I think in the rooms, maybe not try to seek position so early. Like maybe take my time in trying to figure out the best process, because I think I got thrust into some bigger positions as a younger coach that I wasn't quite prepared for, which I think is now helping me now as an older coach. And I say older coach, good gracious, I'm like 37 or 38. But but when football is your entire life, then it is kind of like that. But I think I think just maybe being more self-aware. And I think that's part of the process too. Like sometimes you have to learn that as a young coach. And Stephen, you're way more wise than I was at your age.
Yep.
And I think that, and you've always been like that. You've always had that mature approach as a high school player. And obviously that's carrying over into your career. And that's why you've been so successful. And that's why you add so much value to your team, because of your willingness to grow. It's not just about performance only. It's a growth mindset. So hats off to you.
It's a good one, man. It's a good one. I would probably tell my younger self, similar to Jamie, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Like, listen more, talk less early. But I also would say, also don't be scared to speak up and ask. Like, hey, coach, I understand this is what you want to do. Can you explain why what you're saying is better and explain why mine maybe isn't? Like, teach me the reason you're right. Like, don't teach me why I'm wrong. I think that was a big thing. And not that I'm big like this. I don't allow professional issues to carry over into personal problems. But what I would probably tell my younger self, which I think is a big one, is maybe dive more into people who do, and make sure that professional issues that maybe other people have, you make sure you patch those relationships, is probably what I would say. Because I was taught by my dad, hey, business is one thing, home is another thing. We work together, but like as soon as we left work, hey, it's personal. So I know how to separate really well, but some people don't. And I think there may have been some relationships down the line that if I would have just went the extra step, and adults now put my arm around the adult, hey, understand, this doesn't have to bleed into personal. I think some things could have ended up better early in my career.
Well said. Well, boys, this has been outstanding. It's great catching up with you, Coach, and we're definitely going to have you on again, because every time we have guys that we know, we just can't get to everything that we want to get to. But man, best of luck to you. We're so I don't want to big brother you here and say we're proud, but just remember us, man. Like when you make it to your next stop. But no, man,
I'll be your towel boy one day.
Yes,
man.
You just remember us, man.
Look, I can almost make it. We'll try and make it a yearly thing, man. And whenever the convention is, man, shoot, just had a headset ready. I'll swing by. Wherever it is, man.
Yeah. Going to Indy, baby.
Indy.
I ain't gonna forget, man. You know, we can always get back on, because, man, we ain't. Just the history between the three of us, man. We ain't talk about anything tonight.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Nothing.
Some good stuff. There might be some better off-air stuff after we hit the stop button.
Coach speak after dark.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Put this on a pay website, make them pay for it, man.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Hey, at coachspeakpro.com, you can see the post show.
Exactly. Y'all want that one? Hey, you got to
pay a little bit, but that's awesome, man. Well, guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you.
Thanks for tuning into the Coach Speak podcast. If you're interested in being a guest speaker on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at coachspeakpodcast1@gmail.com. And if you have a question for our Q&A segment, don't forget to submit it through the form in the episode description. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.